Good morning. Welcome to Business Morning. It's good to be back after about a month of rest, but obviously economic issues have not been resting. I trust Lad Williams, Will Ebong, and Anita Edet have been keeping you abreast on all relevant topics. Well, I'm back to add my quota to it, and it's good to be back. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Well, let's get to it now. Oil prices edged up on Monday after OPEC+ nations held their output targets steady ahead of the European Union ban and a price cap kicking in on Russia crude beginning today. At the same time, in a positive sign for fuel demand, more Chinese cities eased COVID-19 curbs over the weekend. No, there have been protests about that, though the partial easing in policies sowed confusion across the country. Oil prices rose as much as 2% earlier in the day. Both the Brent and U.S. West Texas Intermediate contracts have since paired some gains. Brent crude futures were up last 49 cents to $86.06 a barrel, while WTI crude futures gained 51 cents to $80.49 a barrel. Well, moving on now, investors' confidence is one of the key ingredients that will accelerate growth of the country's capital market. And this is one of the issues which the LCCI is talking about as they take a look at what is going on in the country. And their area of interest has been the recent downgrades by Fitch and some other bodies on Nigeria's economy and Nigeria's company. And this has become a source of worry for the LCCI as they are asking the federal government to look at ways of increasing revenue and closing the loophole, the leakages, the revenue leakages of the country. That's the concern of the LCCI. Well, this is no news to you. The queues at filling stations, especially in Lagos and Abuja, is a source of worry to, I believe, even yourself is a source of worry for you. Nigerians have been assured that the country has enough supply. We've heard this from the NNPC Limited. Issues around cost of supply, talking about logistics, not getting away from that foreign exchange factor, as we've seen the Naira depreciate continuously. Well, the Nigerian midstream and downstream petroleum regulatory authority has been visiting some stations and speaking on efforts to deal with the challenge.
Some of them, about 3 of them have product, only one does not have product, but they are all expecting. But I can categorically tell you that products are coming in right now. We have about 296 million liters in all the depots in Lagos, and about 22 depots struck out yesterday. So we are still going around, and we hope to do this exercise today and tomorrow to make sure that all the places that have product, they are trucking out.
The roads are so bad, and when the trucks get to Abuja, it takes a long time for the trucks to get to Abuja and then back. I can say for today we have about 70 trucks en route to Abuja. And these are the same trucks we use for turnaround. So if these trucks don't get back to Lagos to load and return back to Abuja, it will definitely affect transfers to Abuja. For Lagos and its environs, we don't have that challenge apart from transfers to the mainland, to the island. The only route to the island as of today is through Idumota. Trucks are not allowed to go on the third mainland bridge. So what that means is that we wait till in the evenings before we send out trucks to the island.
Well, let's stay on that and some other issues. We'll speak with the Executive Director of Faith Foundation, Adenike Adeyemi. She's here in the studio. And what we're going to be talking about is how businesses are coping with such challenges and a whole lot more. Hi, Adenike. Good morning.
Hi, Annie. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. And you? Thank you for coming here this morning. How was your journey here? The queues, they cause one type of traffic. And then if you're driving, you're constantly looking at your fuel meter to see if it can take you to where you're going to with the extra traffic that you have to deal with. So first of all, how was your trip here?
So my trip here was smooth and easy, but
Great.
I know that that's probably not the same experience that a lot of people who are running businesses are experiencing the same thing. There's the time to get fuel. There's the fact that a lot of people work in businesses that are powered by petrol generators. And so that's the cost of time to running the business, cost of time to operation, additional costs that they have to bear. There's the fact that a lot of people also have staff members who also have to get in traffic, get in commute, are paying more money to come to their businesses and back. So the overall effect is not, the impact is across different segments for anybody who is running a small and growing business in Nigeria in this already challenging times. It's another thing that businesses don't need to have now.
Yeah, and no business can just wake up and say, oh, let's just pass it to the consumers. Because even the consumers are facing what you're facing, if not worse.
The consumers are facing that. I mean, we've seen the poverty statistics that we saw last week by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Individuals are also dealing with rising cost of inflation. So to purchase a product or to pay for a service, you're taking second and third look to say, is this essential? Do I need to buy this product? Can I make it myself? Or do I need to look for alternative means that are cheaper? And those are the things that, entrepreneurs are also, they've always considered that, to be honest, but they're now considering this to say, what are the products really that people will be able to buy at this point in time? Can we move into much more essential products that regular consumers, regular Nigerians will pay for? And then how do we spread the cost? What cost can we spread to the extent that a consumer will still want to pay for it? And what are the things that we really just have to bear on ourselves and then know that our margins are significantly going to be lower than before?
And there's no considering going to diesel, because diesel is already deregulated. It's available, but the price is also something. Even kerosene. I heard kerosene is more expensive than petrol now.
Yes. So kerosene, diesel, they've also been significantly higher, but now we're seeing the rising cost of petrol. And a lot of businesses, if you're not on solar-powered support, alternative power support, you're depending on all these other fuels to be able to fuel your business.
Well, even solar, I mean, how much can it accommodate? It's
also, well, okay, let me speak on this in two parts. Some of the investments can also be initially expensive. We've seen a lot of solar and alternative power products that are now more to small businesses. So we have a lot of devices that are able to support light, power sockets, electricity. But if you're also a business that is running a machine or large-scale machinery that require significant electrical support, even if there's solar equipment or products that can power that, can you afford to be able to put out the initial cost to be able to invest with that? So all round is that businesses are even much more significantly strained. And I have to say small and growing businesses in particular, by all this additional attendant increased cost of running a business in Nigeria. And again, we're also moving into the end of the year. Costs get higher.
It's supposed to be a good time, actually, towards the end of the year. Businesses are supposed to receive a boost. At least a lot of businesses
give. If the economy is good, businesses will definitely get a boost. There are things that people will buy more. So if you're in the food space, people may be buying bags of rice, but rice is also more expensive. So yes, you'll be buying some things, but the quantity you'll buy would reduce. Is everybody sewing clothes for Christmas? Maybe not as much as before. People are having to make decisions on a day-to-day basis, and those things are also impacting people that are running businesses around different things. And businesses also then have to say, where am I? And I keep going back to say that, is my product or service essential to the person that is paying for my product? And what adjustments am I going to make? Or do I even move to sell something else that people will buy? Or do I explore alternative sources for the things that will drive up the cost of making my product, so that at the end of the day, I can also sell things and be able to take something home for myself.
Yeah, but they said necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. So we do hope that this time will also be a time for a lot of businesses to look inwards. A lot of entrepreneurs to look inwards and see, okay, perhaps there's that local, cheaper way of doing something, or there's that local raw material that I could use, which I've been ignoring. I could dust up and add a little bit of quality and make it, come out and actually have a good...
Yes, you're right. But businesses have been doing that for a while. And in fact, the pandemic made a lot of businesses look inwards. when you had issues with supply chain, when people could not get a lot of the input products that they were importing, people looked inwards. People looked inward from things around people who are making products to say, if we can't, so now even with the Russian-Ukraine crisis, we'll have to use for alternate to wheat. Let's look at things like cassava. Let's look at alternate products to make baked goods. Let's look inward for clothes. Let's not be looking and making materials that are imported. Let's look locally. But the truth of the matter is that to the extent that there's not a lot of things we also produce locally to the scale, there's also a problem to it. So I think a lot of our businesses are looking inwards, to be honest, because a lot of entrepreneurs put on the hat of what's the cheapest way that I can sort the inputs for this. But if you then move to a lot of people that do productions, people are still importing machinery, right? People are still importing quite a lot of byproducts. Even the person that makes clothes, a lot of the buttons, a lot of the accessories are still imported. Then there's not so many things that are made in Nigeria. And if they're made in Nigeria, sometimes the cost of making them because of power costs is also very high. And so you still have to make that judgment call to say, yes, I can look inward, but if I look inward, I should be able to source to scale what I need to produce the product at the quality that I'll be able to sell it with that. But we're definitely seeing a lot of people who are doing, let's look at things internally, let's look at things made in Nigeria to be able to solve our product. But there's still so many cost of doing business issues that will still impact their cost to get that good to the
You know,
market.
that reminds me of, I've not compared it recently, maybe because I've been on, but the issue of rice.
Yes.
You know, we talked about local rice, we talked about imported rice, and then there was a time that even the local rice was more expensive than the imported one. So what is the motivation to actually consume local if it is more expensive? You know, because of overhead costs, because of logistics, transportation. I mean, look at the queues. And one of the reasons connected to this, according to what is being said by industry players, is logistics of getting the petrol right from when it's imported to. We're talking of infrastructure, we're talking of exchange rates that you mentioned earlier, because a lot of these things are imported. The value of Naira just keeps going down.
Yes. So there was a report we recently launched, State of Entrepreneurship in Nigeria report, and we looked at the entrepreneurship index in Nigeria along 5 areas. One of them is the doing business performance, and another is the perception of opportunities. For anybody running a business in Nigeria, most people still feel that there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of things that are available. But if the state of enabling environment to facilitate local production of things is not at the scale it should be, there will be a problem. So yes, there are a lot of policies to facilitate local production of things, but what also matters is the subsidies to enable those production at the scale and the capacity that is required. You talked about rice, right? There's a lot of work that gets from farming the rice to getting it to the point that it gets to the market. You're dealing with things around logistics, you're dealing with things around processing that requires power, that requires energy. You're dealing with issues around security and insecurity to get the goods from the farm to the market. All of those things add to the overall cost of the business. So at the end of the day, a product that may be made in Nigeria may still be more expensive because that entrepreneur, that farmer, that baker, that fashion designer is dealing with so many other things in the environmental context that is adding cost to the operations of the business and then gets transferred to the final product in the market.
So tell us more about that report, the state of entrepreneurs. Most importantly, I mean, I think we know the problems, we know the challenges that we face. Most importantly, what are some of the findings of a way forward, possible solution to get out of some of the issues that we do have?
Yes, the bright light is that the high perception of opportunities in Nigeria is still very strong. About 70% of people we surveyed.
How real is the, sorry, I mean, it's a perception,
yes.
We agree, but I mean, we have to be real with it.
Perception on the side of the entrepreneurs, looking at the size of our country, looking at the market, looking at the need generally. And also, to be fair, looking at the last 1 to 2 years, even from COVID, that there have been a number of government programs, initiative policies, and schemes that have fostered that, right? A lot of entrepreneurs are also acquiring skills to improve themselves generally and also to formalize themselves. There's still quite a lot of businesses that are still informal, but we're gradually seeing some change and some shift. And with opportunities like SMIDAN providing a category that allows people to register beyond CAC, it's also helping. One of the things we also looked at was the access to finance perspective, is that we're seeing situations where cooperatives are coming up to group together and support and providing financing for businesses more than maybe even microfinance or even commercial businesses. But the challenges then remain in then supporting specific demographics like women-led businesses. I mean, the last time we spoke about women, state of supporting women entrepreneurs in Nigeria, and being able to make sure that there are certain accommodations that are made for cultural biases that make women to start businesses but not grow and scale as required. The other thing that was also a bright spot was young people continue to lead business growth in Nigeria, and they continue to be the most responsible for hiring other young people. So a lot of the job that is created in this labor market is created by young people between the ages of 18, even up to about 39 years old. So a lot of that should be invested in. And what we're then going back into a situation is coming to the point where you were speaking to is that small businesses still need to be supported and enabled through things like opening up facilities where you say, okay, well, the government is doing procurement. Let's make sure that about 30 to 50% of small businesses are the ones that are in this space. The access to finance challenges that are still being faced by small businesses. Let's expand the funding opportunities, even if we're giving debt, to make sure that a lot of small businesses can access single-digit interest rates. Again, they also have to pay back. So the mechanisms also have to be put in place to incentivize them to get these loans and also to pay back. And then also to invest a lot in understanding particular sectoral dynamics, particularly sectors that we are saying are the alternative to help us drive foreign exchange gains and income and revenue for Nigeria. So there's the creative sector, there's the agribusiness sector, there's even services across different spaces. So how do we provide more investments in those spaces to ensure that small and growing businesses in Nigeria really can attain the scale and continue to support the GDP growth and impact that we've seen, and we know that they can continue to expand on.
Yeah, well, when you mentioned the foreign exchange, as an alternative, apart from oil, I think that's very interesting. But, we have to cross a lot of hurdles before we get to a point where the small businesses are really contributing to it. But another thing that also catches my attention is the issue of digital identity for creditworthiness, because access to finance is a major one. You talked about the women, the cultural hurdle that especially the women have to go through and all of that. How do we deal with this, looking at everything is becoming digital now, technology is taking over? How do we embrace this digital identity to help make access to finance easier?
What digital identity does is that what digital does, it enables and facilitates information so that I don't need to know you in a one-on-one to be able to make a decision on whether you're funding ready or not. We've had a lot of initiatives like the National Identity Number, the BVN, that are in place to provide digital identifiers to people. And so one of our recommendations through our report and also through our policy dialogue was expanding it so that when individuals are able to, when we're able to better use these digital identifiers to see how somebody's financial and lending profile is, anybody that wants to lend them finance based on that can use that information to do that. There's also a lot of opportunities around the credit reporting.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the credit bureau. They seem to be getting popular these days.
As they should be. And only about maybe 30 to 40% of people that we interviewed even know about the opportunities that are available with credit reporting. If you know your credit profile, and if a financing institution also knows your credit profile, they can then make the decision on what to lend you, how much to lend you, for what duration to lend you. And then when you then access financing, because you already have a trail, a future lender is also able to look at that profile that you've created with that. So one of the strong recommendations from us is the opportunity that still exists to expand the use of credit profiling. Even the National Collateral Registry, Movable Collateral Registry, that was also enacted so that people who don't have access to movable fixed assets like land, houses, can use that in terms of financing. So there are also opportunities for using the Movable Collateral Registry and also for us to learn from them. If more people are using it, we're better able to understand what drives lending, who performs better with lending, and developing very specific financial products to small and growing business access to
Yeah,
finance
well, don't
issues.
worry. Our next conversation is going to be on big data, how we use this data. I mean, that's what the Western world is using. People want to access mortgage and all of that. They check your credit worthiness. They know if you should get a mortgage, if you get a loan or anything like that. Well, but we have to stop there, Ms. Adenike Adeyemi.
Thank you.
Executive Director of Faith Foundation. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank
And
you
we
for
wish you all
having
the
me.
best with the small businesses. Hope to have you here soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. So we're going to talk on data, talking about data. Developed economies are using it for developments. Why is Nigeria not? Or are we using it? We'll find out in our next conversation after this break. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Welcome back. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Well, developed economies, Singapore, Japan, Germany, all those countries that we admire, they've been able to use big data to predict the critical aspects of the economy and how best to respond. This, in turn, has guided their policy direction. And just to highlight what are some examples of big data, what they are: transaction processing systems, customer databases to understand customer trend and demands, documents, emails, medical reports, internet clickstream, logs, mobile apps, and a whole lot of things. Well, these developed countries have used this information to understand the trend of development, formulate policies, and even project growth trends. So when we hear the IMF, the World Bank predicts growth, mostly they use this data. In Nigeria, are we in the big data era yet? Especially because it's believed that for any impact-focused government, the integration of the big data is a must. Well, we'll have joining us to clear the air on this, Emmanuel Onosomi. He's the lead partner, Cardinal Professional Services, is in the studio. Hi, Emmanuel. Good morning.
Thank you, Ini, for having me this morning. Thank you.
So in our last conversation, we were talking about the issue of digital identity, the issue of data. We have the BVN, we have the NIN, and all of that. Are we in the league of the big data yet in Nigeria?
Okay, when it comes to integrating big data into policy development in Nigeria, I think that is an area that Nigeria has a lot to do. I think the first thing I would like to say is that public governance is about resource mobilization and equitable distribution of that resource for social impact, and sustainability. In Nigeria today, I was listening to one of the spokespersons of the current government speaking about the laudable projects that they have done in this government. But if you hear the vibes of the citizens, it appears nothing has happened. So that speaks to the fact that, although you may be going on out doing things, what makes for impact is the fact that you have insights to what are the most critical things to be done for impact, both in the immediate, in the medium term, and in the long term. So big data is one of the areas that, as an economy, we need to, redefine our focus on so that we can critically impact our citizenry.
Who should be going after this big data? Who should make it available?
So businesses all over the world, even businesses in Nigeria, have identified the value that are resident in data. You typically check your phone because you have said something on Google. You open the Jumia app, you see an ad coming to you because you searched that thing. So what they've been able to use your behavior on your phone, when you
all
go
those
to
cookies that
all those
you
cookies,
agree to.
those are the components of big data, tracking customers' behavior, tracking citizens' behavior for the purpose of pushing products that you may want or you may like to use so that you can then make informed decisions. So businesses have been using this to actually impact their results. So government need to also look at that direction for the purpose of impacting the people. We see a lot of manifestos going out here, from one party to other. So the big question is, what are the things driving these manifestos? Are we looking at critical impact? Did you have insight from data that says that these are the critical aspects of the economy that we should be looking at? Or you are just all about bringing up a very, big document that speaks to nothing and speaks to impact for the people? You know, and that's the way we need to begin to look at setting economic policy going on.
Yeah, you know, that kind of brings to my mind some of these big corporates, you know, all these products that have done very well on the international scene. They actually do have departments that focus on just gathering customers' data, their trend, their demands,
The behavior.
you know, their behavior. Yep. And that is what informs their next products or the next feature they add to their product. But I don't think as a country, as you noted, I don't think I've seen that in any of our politicians' manifestos. I don't, you know, like just studying the age group. We have the Jackpot Challenge now.
Generation.
Who are those left? What are their tastes? What do they want to do? What can they do? What knowledge do they have? What do they lack? You know, I don't think I saw that. I said that intentional, you know, effort to get that information and put it in the manifesto. I don't think I see yet.
You will agree with me that if you look at developed nations, you cannot disintegrate their development from big data insight. You know, you will see government arms having a big research institute for the purpose of processing their people's behavior. Look at the example in Singapore. Singapore today happens to be the smartest city, the most efficient economy, and they are able to project into even 2030, 2050 their internet infrastructure because they have been able to track their people's behavior and identify the critical aspect of their economy. Look at ministries. So look at Nigeria, for example. I look at what happened, the flooding issue. How did we use big data to respond for impact? You know, people have mobile phones. You can know the number of people that are still tracked by their location. You can know the number of people that need emergency response. You know, those are the things that actually makes for, look at the healthcare sector in Nigeria, for example. Beyond just saying, writing in your manifesto that I want to build additional institution, I want to bring this infrastructure, look at the human resources gap. So big data will churn out a fact that there needs to be an acceleration program to close the skill gap. You know, when you go to the hospital today, you're also afraid for yourself, am I speaking to the right person? You know, those are the things that big data will churn out for you real time and then say, in developing my manifesto, even when you get into government, implementing your manifesto, you have to put in place infrastructure that begins to track the data of what you are implementing for impact. Because if you look at it, okay, I have an objective to achieve this. If I don't track it, am I really achieving it? So Nigerian Bureau of Statistics has been tracking some data, and let's give them, you know, a good credit. In fact, as of today, that is one of the most reliable, you know, institutes of government that you can rely on their output. But beyond what they are doing, significant investment has to be made in tracking data, even at the ministry level, at the department and agencies level, such that if you integrate all this data in AI architecture, you know, you can get insights as government to critically impact your people for revolt and won't be having that expectation gap any longer.
All right, Emmanuel Onosomi. Well, we're expecting there to be census early next year. Maybe that's one data that we can work with. We do hope that it is free of all those political sentiment. Most of the time, when we do census or we have data coming up from government or anything, there's also that political sentiment, oh, it's skewed to favor this and favor that, you know. And,
and beyond just doing census, if I can just finally say this, you know, beyond just doing census traditionally, you know, you have to do census, you know, future forward thinking going forward. Before we track age, we track demography. There are additional information that we need to track now as government if we want to develop policy that will truly impact our people.
All right. I would have loved to ask you that, but we're really out of time. Lead partner, Cardinal Professional Services, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much,
Big data
Ine,
is the future, so obviously we still have a whole lot more conversations to have.
Thank you very much, Ine, for
all right. That was big data. And now, next we'll be talking about opportunities. You want to make money? Well, you might have that opportunity. This after this break. Do join us again. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. The International Human Rights Commission has placed Nigeria's housing deficit at 28 million housing units. So this number is also supported by the Federal Mortgage Bank. The implication of this is a huge number. That's hundreds and hundreds of Nigerians are homeless or live in poor conditions, and a threat to the implementation of affordable housing, which is an important component of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. But on the other hand, this 28 million deficit also provides opportunities. That's what Mrs. Toke Benson-Awoyinka, Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Housing, comes to speak. Mrs. Awoyinka, thank you so much for your time. I'm great. So it's sad to look at the deficit, but it also presents an opportunity. And I know you are very passionate about that. I've spoken to you a couple of times, you know, about the opportunities in the real estate industry, even though it's not so good because of the need, but it's also an opportunity for people to get in there and do something and make a difference.
Yes, I'm glad we're speaking about this today, and I speak about it every day and every time. Wherever there's a challenge or there's a deficit, there's always an opportunity for people. And that's why we at Lagos State Government, we're encouraging private developers to partner with the state government. The mistake people make is they believe government should provide housing. Government shouldn't provide housing. Government should create an enabling environment for people to get into that industry and provide the housing. So at Lagos State Government, we've done our bit, but we're also encouraging private participants to join us.
So what are the opportunities available?
So what we do is we provide land, but we also shy away from having people just bank our land. And if we provide you land, it means that we have actually brought down substantially the cost of you building for the people. And we expect that what we focus on mainly is social housing. I'm not going to call it affordable housing because we use the same metal you use, we all go to the same market, the same industry to buy. So it's not going to be affordable, it will be social, highly subsidized by government. So when we give you land, we expect you to build, and we expect you to build and pass on to our people at a very, very good discount.
You know, paperwork is one discouraging factor in Nigeria. So even though as a government, you say, oh, we are making the environment conducive for you, the issue of paperwork or CFO, get approval for the plan, you know, and all of that, it might deter the opportunity that we see in this 28 million deficit.
So thank you so much for bringing that up. Tomorrow, as you know, we have the marketplace, the real estate conference. Part of the discussions we're going to be having there is what Lagos State government has done to actually ease that performance on the side of the developers.
Not on paper, in reality.
In reality,
because
yes.
sometimes the government will tell you, oh, you will get your CFO in 24 hours, in 3 days. And
let me tell you what we're doing. We have the EGIS coming up, and that's the electronic geographical systems. And that is going to be a major discussion tomorrow. I hope you know we have what we call Largest now. And that's an agency that actually deals with that. We have a special advisor who has actually purposely been brought in to do this. So everything from your electronic survey to you doing your search, everything you need to do in that sector, you can do virtually. You don't have to come to our offices.
And the website is active and up to date.
We're actually going to launch it before the end of this year. I think we're launching on the 20th of December. But tomorrow is going to present the opportunity for people to actually listen to how it's going to work and what we're going to do. Everything we've been doing in that sector. So let me tell you the reason why we're also doing this. I tell people, real estate is the oil of Lagos. And if we do not perfect that area, we're also going to be losing revenue. So as much as we're making your business conducive and making that environment good for you to actually thrive, we're also getting something back in return. So it's a quid pro quo for us. It's not something that we're just mouthing or lip servicing it. We're actually going to do it. It's actually done. Mr. Governor made that promise last year at the real estate fair. He said the EGIS platform is going to work. We're going to make sure it works. So it's working now, and we're going to launch.
All right. So another thing is, you did say it's not affordable housing. It's social housing. Because we've had everybody, if you want to build, I mean, we all go to the same markets. The building materials are the same. But when you look at countries like the United States, they have those homes that they use wood, you know, and some other materials which are more affordable. Isn't it possible to try something else in Nigeria? There was a time, I know a group of people came together to suggest if they could use these containers, to make houses.
So
But
we did that.
are we too proud, or is it just not for our climate?
So it is innovative, and everything is evolving. We recently commissioned a school by Mr. Governor in the Ministry of Education. Containers. We didn't use one brick. All containers. And it's well insulated, it's well ventilated, and that's what we're doing. So we're actually looking at that too. We also had a company come build for us in Badagry, Idale Homes, Lagos State Government, through the Ministry of Housing, and Ecostone, which is an American company. And they used something called something foam. And it's
yes, I saw
so
that
it was
we had that report
exactly.
on channels, yes.
So it made the house come cheap, and but they could only spread. And what we told them is that because we don't have land in Lagos, we need you to evolve and make it go up, so that we can actually get more from that limited space. But so it's evolving. We've done schools with containers. Homes will also come with containers, because we have containers just littering all over, and it would be good for us to put it in good use. So those are the kind of things that we're actually looking at. Lagos is evolving.
But it seems those innovations are not coming fast enough.
Well,
or maybe the reception of it.
Exactly. I was just going to say, you also know the stigmatization around a lot of things in Lagos. People are just going to say, oh, they want us to live in containers.
Not just Lagos, I think it's Nigeria generally.
Exactly.
We have
they want
that
us to live in containers. They're living in brick homes. So eventually people are going to get to know it. Once they now see that their kids go to school and they're built with containers and there's nothing wrong with it, then they start to also accept those innovations. So we're actually looking forward to those as well.
Yeah, because we're actually looking forward to reducing that 28 million deficit.
Exactly.
Meeting up with the SDG goals.
And yes, and it has to be done with the full participation of the private sector.
All right, thank you so much, Special Advisor, Mrs. Toke Benson Awinka. I wish you the best in your event.
Thank you
and
very
in your
much.
innovations.
I will expect to see you there tomorrow.
Hopefully, if I'm not here.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a breather now. We'll have Ladi joining us with the crypto segment, but that's just in a moment. To stay with us. It's crypto time, and the last time I spoke crypto with Ladi Williams, Bitcoin was about 21,000, 20,000. How much is crypto now?
Since you've been gone, a lot has happened, Inni, and welcome back. But at least you're coming back to 17,000.
Oh, come on, don't say that.
Because it did touch 16,000.
Oh, my word.
Yes, and a lot has happened from the FTX.
A whole lot.
Implosion.
Yes, I heard about the FTX. That was a big one.
Exactly. So now that you're back, maybe the market is going to jump
I'm back. I come with the good news.
With the good news. All right, let's look at it there. We see the fear greed index there, 26 points. That's fear. We're seeing the market better than extreme fear, but that's how December is looking right now. Let's look at the market cap there, $868.86 billion, up 1.66%. We've seen volume this morning up 16.39%, and Bitcoin dominance 38.24%. But talking about the FTX contagion now, we know a lot is still happening, when it comes to crypto exchanges. Let's bring in Senator here now, President Siban, join us via Zoom. Senator, great to have you on the program.
Great to be here, Ladi.
Yeah, so Senator, it's still that FTX contagion, and we got that information about the AAX exchange. They did halt, withdrawals, and we saw that, customers were not finding that funny. There was some kind of protest that happened at their office. Tell us about it.
Right, yes. The AAX, which is known as the Assets Atom Exchange, has roots in Hong Kong, but registered in Seychelles. It wasn't long after the FTX implosion when the AX exchange suspended withdrawals abruptly. This was sudden. No one saw it coming. When it was announced on Twitter by AX, there were a lot of suspicions and panic, understandably, because this was coming just a few days after FTX. And as everyone must have noticed, there is a contagion still going on as we speak. And so no one knows which other exchange or centralized finance platform is going down next. So when AX announced that it was suspending withdrawals, a lot of suspicions, according to AX global announcements on the 13th for 10 days. And they were suspending withdrawals because they are experiencing certain malicious attacks. And what they were trying to do, according to them, was to prevent the exploitation, of that situation. So they had to suspend withdrawals. According to AX, it claimed that a third-party partner, is the reason for this, and so they will try to fix this in 10 days. 10 days later, Ladi, nothing had changed. The withdrawals were still suspended, although there was a manual form made available for anyone to withdraw manually. That process is almost impossible for users. So that panic has gone, has remained in the last few weeks. And contrary to what AX had promised, that they were going to be transparent about the process and always give updates via their social media platforms, none of that has happened. As a matter of fact, AX already pulled down some of their social media networks as we speak. And there is no communication between AX and the users. And what has happened in Nigeria, you must have seen the news around certain disgruntled users being dissatisfied and attacking or supposedly attacking AX staff.
Anyway, Senator,
that news was around yesterday. But I can tell you, Ladi, from all of the reports I have on my desk here, no such thing has happened. No one has been attacked in any part of the country over this matter.
All right, Senator.
If you notice, CBAN, we came up with a public notice, earlier about this, saying that, hey, we know that this has happened. We see that this is the reasons. We're working to see what we can do with AAX to ensure
Senator, can you hear me?
Consumer protection and investors is guarded. Yes.
Senator, thank you so much. We'll keep tracking to see, how all these exchanges survive this whole contagion issue. But thank you so much for giving us that update. That was Senator here, CBAN president, joining us via Zoom. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, so Ini, that's it. So a lot going on right now.
A lot going on, and I saw Senator has a whole lot of information, but I know you're going to stay on this for a while.
We'll keep talking about it.
So viewers will get a lot of information. Ladi, thank you so much. I think we'll see you at 1:30 for 1:30. Business Incorporated.
Right. Welcome back.
Thank you. Well, it's good to be back. It's just the first one for the week, so it's 4 more to go. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll be here. Oh, first. 10 p.m. I'll bring you the stock market report, so meet me then during the news at 10. For now, I wish you a profitable business day. Enjoy the rest of it.